So this is the P2 lesson 2, and we're looking at microwaves, and we're also going to look at the idea of intensity of radiation. Now, just to recap, microwaves are down here. Now these are the low energy photons going up to the high energy photons. So microwaves are fairly low energy end of the photon spectrum, and we're just going to define how much energy arrives from EM radiation, which is intensity of radiation, is the energy per second which arrives at 1 square meter of area. So if we have a 1 meter squared area, 1 meter by 1 meter, the amount of energy arriving here per second is called the intensity. So the units of intensity are often given as, for example, 2 joules per second per meter squared. So that would mean that for a meter squared area, it would have 2 joules arriving per second. Now if this area was twice as big, if it was 2 meters squared, then we'd have the same intensity, but over that area we'd have 2 joules per second per meter arriving, and if we had 2 meters squared, we'd have 4 joules of energy per second arriving in total. Now then, microwaves are very useful to us for a number of reasons. Firstly, microwaves are used for cooking, and the reason that they are used for cooking is because because water molecules are particularly good at absorbing microwave photons, which makes them vibrate faster, which causes them to heat up. We also use microwaves for communication. So we use low intensity microwaves for communication, high intensity for cooking. And it's the microwaves which are used to communicate between mobile phones, and also radiation coming from satellites to your satellite dish for TV. So satellite communications also use microwaves. Now, there's obviously a lot of controversy about the fact that if water absorbs microwaves and heats them up in cooking, and then when you use a phone, you're putting a microwave generator next to your head, and your head has got a brain which is full of water. Is there a danger that we are causing damage, permanent damage, irretrievable damage to our brains by using microwaves? So far there's no evidence for that, but there are some people who believe that phones may be doing us long-term damage. One way to reassure people is that the fact that microwaves, the photons of microwaves, are very low energy. In fact, there's less energy in a microwave photon than there is in a visible light photon. So although you may often hear people talking about the dangers of radiation, it's worth pointing out that the visible light that comes from the sun they're using to see is also a kind of radiation, which has got higher energy photons than microwaves themselves. As you say, there are no evidence yet that mobile phones cause danger or long-term damage to human beings.